Hi friends! Join me in the garden today for a late summer harvest of flowers and veg from my backyard. Let's see what the garden has to offer today. Alright, we are starting with tomatoes today. These are Roma tomatoes, which are great for making sauce. I've gotten a few harvests already and I've been roasting these and freezing them, which is how I like to save them for making sauce and soup and all that good stuff. I've trellised 2 plants on this cattle panel and they're looking pretty good. It's been a rough year in the garden for me this year. I haven't kept up with it enough and I've had a lot of things not do too well, but these 2 tomatoes are really keeping the hope alive. They've been doing really well despite everything. Next, let's see how many cucumbers we have hiding in this plant. Like I said, it's been a terrible year for most things, but actually it has been our best ever year for cucumbers, which is really encouraging. To be clear, that's not saying much. I have never successfully harvested more than like 1 single cucumber before having my plants die from fungal issues like powdery mildew. So the fact that they've even lasted long enough to grow multiple cucumbers is a huge improvement. The bar was very low. Now on to flowers. This is my Lysianthus bed. These are a newer flower for me. I grew them for the first time last year, but they definitely did way better this year. As I'm doing the voiceover for this video, I'm realizing how many new things have actually been successful for me this year. I didn't have broad success in the garden, but it was a big year for previously unsuccessful crops doing well. So I should remember that when I'm feeling down on myself. My husband Greg will be saying "I told you so hard after hearing that, because he always tells me it's not as bad as I think when I feel like I've failed. But you know what? It's hard to see that when it's your own endeavors that feel like they aren't going well. So let this be your reminder not to be so hard on yourself. I definitely should have trellised these Lizzies though, so they would really be thriving if I had done that. I just got overwhelmed and didn't. So next year, hopefully I'll be more on top of that, but at least I know I can successfully grow these, and I'm gonna experiment with drying them to see if they're worth growing next year. Next, I'm harvesting some miscellaneous flowers. I've got a bunch of Jewels of Opar that's ready, as well as lots of cress that's all over the garden that sowed itself from last year. While I was harvesting flowers, I discovered this little volunteer potato plant, which was super fun. We must have missed a potato last year during the harvest, and it grew this year. I enjoyed this so much. I absolutely love harvesting potatoes. We didn't plant any this year because of space and time and another project that's throwing off things in the garden a little this year. And I really missed the dopamine of harvesting a bunch of potatoes. So this was a nice little surprise. These volunteer plants didn't grow very many or very large potatoes because I didn't know they were there. I didn't hill them up or pay any attention to them. Obviously, I probably would have had a bigger harvest if I'd given them some love, but it's still fun to dig up a few treasures from these plants. was kind of pressed for time, so I'm not sure how well I filmed that. I had to rush at the end. I had a bridesmaid like group FaceTime thing I had to do, so I was really pressed for time. So I didn't really film everything necessarily. And then I also hung everything while I was on my group call because time. So I didn't film bundling and hanging everything, but I'm gonna show you now. I'm in the studio where everything's hanging. So this is everything. I'm literally standing on the pallets that we have stacked in here. So I hung the Lizzie-anthus in a couple bundles. This is the Jewels of Opar, the random stuff like bunny tails and status. I ended up hanging the short Lizzie-anthus just because maybe I can use them somehow. So we'll see how these turn out. I really hope these dry nicely. Because I have a lot of them and they grew really well this year. So I'm hoping I can use them and they'll dry well. I got everything harvested. I'm gonna process these tomatoes today or tomorrow. But right now, I'm gonna get back to pine tarring fence pickets, like those, in the garage. It's a glamorous life. Here is everything I harvested today. This might be a modest harvest, but it's been a really tough and discouraging year in life and in the garden, and it's really nice to celebrate the small wins, get outside, get my hands in the dirt, and appreciate that I was able to grow anything from tiny little seeds into something beautiful and delicious. Thanks for joining me in the garden today. I hope it gave you some joy. Until next time.